Breaking news, we have 3 cool leaked new cameras coming, and I'm excited for each of them. I think the coolest and most interesting is a new competitor to the Fuji X100 and the Leica Q3, and it's from Lumix, Panasonic. And we have 2 leaked Fuji cameras, the GFX100S II and the new X-T50. I'll tell you about all of them with pictures and specs and prices, but first I want to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. Start a free trial at squarespace.com/Tony, and you can see how amazing it is to have a presence on the web that you actually control. This is not social media because there's no ads on it. You control the fonts, the colors, the branding, everything, because your Squarespace builds you as a creator, as a business person, or just shows off whatever project you have. Between Chelsea and I, we have 4 or 5 different Squarespace sites because it's just the best way to host something on the web. It's easy, it's fun, it lets you focus on what people see instead of how things work. Get started today at squarespace.com/Tony. Try it out, no credit card required. When you love it, the coupon code TONY will get you 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace. Up first, I want to talk about the US government's recent action against TikTok. The US President Biden just signed a bill that would ban TikTok from the US unless they met some requirements. They basically want TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance, to split off the US portion of TikTok so that it would be US owned. I think the premise here is national security concerns. TikTok and just the algorithm that it uses to show people content has an incredible power to change people's minds. So many people, voters, use TikTok, and as they scroll through, the content that they see is determined by an algorithm. And it theoretically would be possible for that algorithm to feed potential voters content that might push their opinions in one direction or another. So I can understand that would be a security concern. TikTok also gathers intense amounts of demographic detail about individuals in the United States, and if there were some future serious conflict with China, again, I can see that as a concern. Additionally, Chinese companies don't have the same separation from the government that US companies do. The Chinese government is much more able to access the data that's owned by a Chinese company. And TikTok has lots of responses saying that the data is secure and held in the United States, but nonetheless, what has happened is Biden and the rest of our Congress want TikTok to separate out the US portion into a US-owned company. And the only other option they're currently presenting is that TikTok will be blocked from your app store. And that would be huge because a lot of my audience are creators. Chelsea and I, have a TikTok channel that we put quite a bit of energy into, and it would be pretty upsetting if we were to lose all of that. So a lot of people are really concerned. While we don't make any money from TikTok, a lot of people do make their living from it. And as a creator, I can understand that would be super scary. I mean, good news and bad news, depending on where you're standing on this. TikTok is going to challenge this. They're not simply going to comply and split the company off, nor are they willing to simply shut it down. And I don't know what the legal challenge is going to look like, but let's face it, like OJ was found not guilty. Lots of legal challenges come up and they drag out for years and years and years. And then maybe the right and fair thing doesn't happen. Okay, that if you're a big company or a really rich person, you can get out of legal stuff. You can delay it, you can diminish it, you can dispose of it. And while they say you can't fight City Hall, that has not been my experience. So I don't know how it's going to unfold, but I definitely don't think we're going to see TikTok sold or shut down within 6 months. Also, the 6-month period with a 3-month extension happens to line up pretty closely with the US presidential elections. And the other major presidential candidate, Trump, has taken a different stance on TikTok. He doesn't seem to be in favor of shutting it down. And thus, in the case that he is elected, I think there's a really good chance that he would simply throw this whole thing out. So while there's a lot of panic in the media, I guess I'm here to say my assessment of it is that I don't expect any changes within at least a couple of years. I do believe TikTok can at least drag it way out, if not get it completely dismissed. So if you are a TikToker, I wouldn't sweat it too much and I would keep making content. There is another challenge currently in the works against DJI. The US government would also like to block the use and sale of DJI drones. Blocking DJI drones would have a pretty huge impact on us and our job here as creators, because almost every video outside of the studio does include drone, at least B-roll. It's a great way to establish things. My hunch is these laws aren't going to make progress. And again, if they do, then DJI, who has a great legal team, will probably challenge it indefinitely. Let's talk about something a little more fun. The Lumix full-frame fixed lens camera. If you look at cameras like the X100 they have been incredibly popular because while everybody loves their smartphone, we want something that has a little better quality, and the controls on a smartphone will suck. This segment of cute fixed lens compact cameras has been wildly popular, and Lumix has a pretty good history of making great looking, fun, sexy cameras. I think the demographic who's looking at these types of cameras would be totally happy with the rangefinder styling, the mixed chrome and black, the leather, the colors. So I do think Panasonic is going to do this, and I personally am super excited to see it because I use a camera in this segment. Chelsea uses a couple of different, a Leica Q2 or an X100 depending on how she wants to travel. Having something compact, better quality than a phone that doesn't have the distractions of a phone, and it's sexy and fun to use. It's a fashion accessory. It sort of checks all the boxes, and that explains why that segment is so popular and growing while other parts of photography and cameras are actually like receding a little bit. We expect the Lumix camera to be full frame, and that puts it in direct comparison with the Leica Q3, which is currently $6,000. So Lumix could easily come in at $3,000, still have a very expensive fixed lens camera, but be half the price of Leica. Now, of course, the Lumix name is not as prestigious as the Leica name. The branding and the labeling and the history and stuff is a factor. It's not just technical quality, but Lumix can certainly do the technical quality, and I just showed you that they can make something that looks good, even if it doesn't have a flashy brand name that not everybody cares about or is willing to pay for. Fuji's brand isn't nearly as prestigious as Leica, and yet the X100 and 5 and all the predecessors before it have been wildly popular, and they sell for $1,600, but they're just APS-C. So theoretically, the Lumix camera could be somewhere between $1,600 and $6,000, but here's my best guess. I think the price is going to be, I'm going to say $19.99, though I wouldn't be surprised if it was $24.99 if they went a little bit more upscale with it. I wouldn't want them to go too high though. I think it'll be a rangefinder camera. I think it'll be available in multiple colors. I think they'll probably use their lower end sensor, like that from the S5, which will be about 24 megapixels. I'm going to take a guess on the lens. It could be 35. That's a popular focal length for this, but I think Lumix is going to want to lean into their video history and try to grab some of the creator market. So I think they're going to make it a rangefinder, but with a flip screen so people can film themselves with it. And 35 millimeters wouldn't work well in sort of the traditional vlogging style filming. So I'm thinking they're going to attach a 24 millimeter f2.8 lens to it. I would be thrilled if it were a little faster. If it were f2, that would make it even better, but that would also make the camera bigger and more expensive. And I think they'll focus heavily on the video features and not just the stills. It'll definitely have 4K at 60 frames per second, but I bet they'll add a whole bunch of video features that most creators probably won't care about. Maybe things like internal RAW, maybe full readout, like 6K full readout as opposed to just 16:9. Either way, subscribe. And when this is launched, we will have a review as soon as we can get our hands on a copy. Now, via Fuji Rumors, we have an actual photo of the next Fujifilm X-T50. This is their lower end analog DSLR style camera. Fuji cameras are very largely based on just the looks and the form factor, and previous editions of the X-T50 have been available in either black or chrome. I would definitely always get the chrome. I expect it to launch this month, so subscribe for the review. And this is a photo of the GFX100S II. This is the more compact Fujifilm medium format camera, and Fuji Rumors also brings us the price of that. $5,000 US or 5,500 euros. And the looks look pretty much the same, though the Fuji Rumors guy points out that it is covered in a little bit more texture, so perhaps it will feel a little bit better. The price of $5,000 here is totally reasonable. It's slightly more expensive than the GFX100S, and no doubt it improves upon it while it has the same 100 megapixel sensor. Things like the autofocus capabilities are going to definitely be improved. It's significantly less than its big brother, the GFX100 II, which is a larger form factor and more of a system camera rather than sort of an all-in-one camera with non-replaceable viewfinder. And if you compare it to the amazing Hasselblad X2D 100C, another 100 megapixel full-frame camera, that's all built in, that's not a system camera, you can see it's significantly cheaper, though, again, the branding counts here. And Hasselblad has an amazing user experience that Fuji kind of struggles with. Nonetheless, $5,000 is a great price, and it puts it significantly below some full-frame cameras. That's less than a Nikon Z9 or a Sony A1 or a Canon R3, while actually providing better image quality. So it's great to see the medium format prices start to come down, providing more competition in the high end amongst cameras. And again, we can't wait to get our hands on this one. Thanks for showing us that, Fuji Rumors. We expect that GFX100S II to launch on May 20th. In the comments down below, tell me what you're most excited about. And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Squarespace, anytime you need any kind of web presence. Don't start on social media. Start at squarespace.com/Tony. Set up a gorgeous web presence with your own custom domain, custom email address, detail analytics, colors, fonts. You control everything. Use your social media to send people to your real website, which again, you can build at squarespace.com/Tony. You get a free trial, no credit card required, no stress. When you love it, you can use the coupon code TONY to get 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace. Bye.